asked for a thesis. Lower interest rates increase consumption, correct? And let's say all of you know the link. Yeah, lower interest rates increase consumption. The next question I have, do you know that there are actually 2 points in total? Not just 1 point, you have 2 points. So what are the 2 points? First, when you cut interest rates, it's cheaper to borrow, all right, to buy big ticket items. Big ticket items. So of course, consumption goes up. Okay, they actually want to see this term, big ticket items. Why? Because when you buy food at the canteen, you don't need to borrow. You're talking about things like a car, okay? I have seen students invite a comment from the teacher if they stop here. Okay, so the teacher is probably a bit stricter, but not wrong. The teacher will say, is it only borrowers who are affected by interest rate changes? And that's a relevant point. Why? If it's just borrowers, then maybe a change in interest rates will not affect China so much, because China is a country full of savers, not borrowers. So you have to go one step further to say that when interest rates fall, same thing, if you're a saver, you will consume more. Because when interest rates fall, it's less attractive to save. Less attractive to save. You wouldn't want to put your money in the bank, right? If they give you 0.25%, which is the situation now in Singapore. So it's less attractive to save. In other words, the op cost of consumption falls. Why op cost? If you have money, you either spend or you save. Okay. So in both cases, consumption rises. Okay. So from today's lesson, the first takeaway is when you tie interest rates to consumption, remember 2 points. Okay. And how is this going to help you? Rigor. You get more rigor. Okay. Okay. Second point. When I cut interest rates, I increase investments. Okay. Okay, let me just check. Don't draw this first, okay? Have you all seen this in the notes? Land, investments, interest rates, MEI curve. Seen it? Okay, some of you have seen it. All right. The thing is, do you draw this? Whether to draw a curve or not, all right, depends on the scope of the question. All right. So this diagram here, all right, you do not need to draw in this essay. All right. When do you draw this diagram? But the question is a bit different. Okay. If the question asks you to explain factors that affect investment, 10 marks, the scope is very small. Then you draw. Okay. If they ask me to explain factors that affect inflation, you see, investment is just one part of so many different things. You do not have the luxury of time. So it's not like every diagram that's relevant you draw. In this case, no need to draw. Okay. But how do you explain this? Okay. I said the language for consumption is big ticket items. There's also some specific terminology for investments. You need to say, assume expected returns, right? If the expected returns remain unchanged, okay, remain unchanged. Okay, so if the expected returns remain unchanged, lower interest rates, okay, lower interest rates lead to higher expected profitability of investments. Okay. So things like expected returns, expected profitability have to appear in your answer. You check your notes, they should have those terms there. Why? Because when you invest, you want to get profits. That's why. Okay. 2 thesis points. No need diagrams, like I said. Okay, for this one. There's a third one. Okay, so there's one circle here, one circle here. There is one more circle here. Exchange rates. Okay, so this is something new that I push across to some of you. Let me just highlight what's happening here. Okay, so why is it that interest rates affect exchange rates? Okay, so I'm gonna say, assume the economy is open to capital flows. Okay. So when you talk about economies that are open to capital flows, of course there are some economies that are not very open, like China. Okay, don't bother with examples like, oh, Iran, North Korea, not much investments going anyway, right? But China is an anti-example, a counter thesis. Okay, if you assume economy is open to capital flows, lower interest rates lead to, wait, okay, you try and work this out. If the economy is open to capital flows, when interest rates fall, what will happen to hot money? Flow in or flow out? Out, correct. It leads to hot money outflows, okay? So it leads to hot money outflow. Hot money flows out. Okay. When hot money flows out, what is happening? These investors used to put their money in your bank to earn the higher interest, right? But now they are not interested. They are going elsewhere where the interest rates are more attractive. So they will take all the money in your bank, throw it in the foreign exchange market. Why? Because they are changing back to their own currency. They don't need to put this in terms of Sing dollar anymore. Okay? When they store in your bank, they store in Sing dollar. When they want to leave, they will convert back to their home currency. So from the money changer's perspective, the money changer will see an increase in the supply of Sing dollar. Okay? So leads to hot money outflows, and the supply of Sing dollar rises. Again, ceteris paribus, right? Sing dollar depreciates. Okay. So there's a weakening of the Sing dollar. Okay. So when the Sing dollar depreciates, you can actually see X minus M rise. So like I said, sometime in your notes, somewhere, you will come across elasticity assumptions. They will say, oh, we assume PEG values are greater than 1, so I'll just put E for elasticity. Okay? Because in page 133 of my book, I have a summary of when elasticities should be used. The thick book, not the thin one. Okay? 3 thesis points. Any questions? I said 4, so there's one more I'm going to show you. Okay, once again, we see that interest rates are very powerful. Why are they very powerful? Because they affect both internal demand and external demand. Fiscal policy only affects internal demand. Exchange rate policy only affects external demand. It's only interest rate policy that is so powerful. Okay? But last week, I mentioned one more thing to you. Okay? Last week I said, hey, you can get some extra credit if you can see how demand management policies can also affect AS. Likewise, you can see how supply side policies also affect AD. You will get some extra credit. Okay? And I have this part of the book, okay, that explains the links. Okay, so if you look at the thicker book, if you haven't folded this page, this is page 144, okay? Page 144 of the thicker book will show you how fiscal policy affects AD and AS. Likewise for interest rate and so on. Okay? So 144 to 146, you can read it over the long weekend. Okay? So over here, I have one more thesis point. this one. Oh, this one. So the thesis point here is, I'm gonna say, right, lower interest rates, okay? When I cut my interest rates, I will attract more investments, okay? If there's more investments and they invest in capital goods, okay? Like when they invest in a factory, you're gonna see potential growth. Okay, 4 theses altogether. 3 for actual growth, 1 for potential growth. Any questions?